Today, we're diving into the signs and wonders surrounding a birth that was said to have literally shaken the world, the miraculous arrival of the Prophet Muhammad.
Now, the source material we're drawing from for this explainer, well, it doesn't pull any punches. It promises a story so extraordinary, it's going to make your hair stand on end and your tears flow. So, that sets a pretty epic tone. Let's see what happens. So let's set the stage. Our story begins in a world that feels like it's holding its breath. From the great Persian and Roman empires all the way to scholars in the Arabian desert, there was this feeling, this widespread sense that something absolutely monumental was about to happen. And we're going to start just 2 months before the Prophet's birth with a really dramatic incident that's even mentioned in the Quran itself. This event was so huge in pre-Islamic Arabia that the entire year became known as the Year of the Elephant. Okay, so at the heart of this conflict, you've got two main characters. On one side, there's Abraha, the super ambitious governor of Yemen. He actually built a rival sanctuary because he wanted to pull pilgrims away from Mecca. And on the other side, you've got Abdul Muttalib, who happens to be the Prophet's grandfather and the respected guardian of the Kaaba. And listen, Abraha wasn't just showing up for a small disagreement. He marched on Mecca with an absolutely overwhelming force, a massive army of 60,000 men, and he brought powerful African elephants with him. The way this attack went down was just extraordinary. First, Abraha's army, with this giant lead elephant named Mahmud, marches on the city and captures a bunch of camels. But then, as they get close to the Kaaba, the massive elephant just stops. It kneels down and refuses to go any further. And right at that moment, swarms of tiny birds appear from the sea, each one carrying 3 small stones. They drop these stones on the invading army, leading to its complete and, honestly, miraculous destruction. So when Abdul Muttalib goes to get his camels back, Abraha kind of mocks him, right? Like, you only care about your animals, not your sacred city. But Abdul Muttalib's reply was just this incredible statement of faith. He says, "I am the owner of these camels, while the owner of this house knows how to protect his house very well." He was completely confident that a higher power was going to step in. So that whole year of the elephant thing, that was a huge sign. But it was far from the only one. All across the region, from different faiths and different traditions, people were watching the skies, they were interpreting signs, and they were all waiting for the arrival of some great figure. So, the big question is, who exactly saw this coming? Well, the accounts describe this amazing convergence of prophecies from all these different sources, and they're all pointing to the exact same event. It's really fascinating when you look at it. You had Jewish scholars in Yathrib who were watching the stars for a very specific sign. One of them actually stood on a fort and announced that the star of Ahmad had finally risen. You had a Christian monk in the desert telling travelers that a prophet named Muhammad was about to appear. And even the Prophet's own grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, had this powerful dream about a great tree of light, which he took as a sign that one of his descendants would rule from east to west. Okay, so all of these signs, all of these prophecies, they were all leading to this one single moment, the night of the birth itself, a night that was just filled with extraordinary and miraculous things happening. The people who were there, they described it simply but so powerfully. They called it the night the stars descended. I mean, just listen to this first-hand account from a woman named Usman, who was actually there. She said, "By Allah, when we looked outside, it seemed as if the stars had come so close to the earth that they would soon descend into our courtyard. It just paints this unbelievable picture, doesn't it?" And the Prophet's own mother, Amina, had an incredible vision of her own. She said she saw a light coming from her that was so powerful, so bright, it lit up the distant palaces of Busra, all the way in Syria. And later, people would see that as a clear prophecy of how far Islam would eventually reach. But maybe one of the most mysterious accounts comes from the midwife, a woman named Shafa bint Amr. She said as she was holding the newborn, a deep darkness just fell all around them. Then, out of the dark, a voice asked, "Where did you take him?" And another voice answered, "To the west." Then it happened again. The same question, but this time the answer was to the east. It's seen as this deeply symbolic moment, as if the child was being presented to the entire world from one end to the other at the very second of his birth. And here's the thing. This wasn't just some local event happening in Mecca. The birth sent these supernatural shock waves across the great empires of the time, signaling that a fundamental shift in the world was happening. Think about this. All at the same time, over in Persia, the sacred fire that had burned for 1,000 years suddenly went out. 14 sections of the Persian royal palace collapsed, which was said to foretell the fall of 14 kings. It's even reported that Iblis, or Satan, let out this great cry of despair. And back in Makkah, the big idols that the Quraysh worshipped were found toppled over, just fallen on their faces. So, what about his name? Well, the child was given two really significant names. Ahmad, which means the one who praises God most, was the name his mother was given in a vision. And his grandfather, Abdul-Muttalib, named him Muhammad, which means the one who is praised. You put them together and they perfectly captured his prophesied destiny. But the story doesn't just end with these incredible miracles. There's this one really touching personal account that connects the time of waiting before his birth to the time of his mission after.
It's about this man in Mecca, Zayd bin He'd already rejected idol worship, and he truly believed a new prophet was coming. But he knew he wouldn't live long enough to see him. So he told a young boy, "I am waiting for the prophet who is to be born. If you meet him, give him my greetings."
Many, many years go by. That boy is now a follower of the prophet, and he finally delivers Zayd's message. The prophet's reply is just deeply moving. He says, "I saw Zayd in a dream. He was walking slowly in paradise, dragging his robes. It was this beautiful confirmation that Zayd's faith, which he held onto for so long, had been seen, it had been recognized, and it was rewarded." So when you look at it all together, the events around the Prophet Muhammad's birth are presented as this whole series of divine signs, cosmic announcements, and fulfilled prophecies. They set the stage for a life that would absolutely change the course of history. Which, of course, leaves us with the question, these were the signs of his beginning. What story would his life tell?